Welcome back to the Make a Baby podcast. I'm Carolina Sotomayor, your podcast host and Reiki womb healer. Today we have something a little bit different.
Whoop, whoop. I'm so excited. Carolina Sotomayor. Did I say your name right?
Yes.
Okay, great. It's such a cool name, and it sort of rhymes if you say it like that. So,
I never thought that's never occurred to me before.
so yeah, you have this amazing show, and you have people that listen to it because they're trying to, or working to, or have made a baby with your work.
Yes.
I get the hunch that they probably want to hear more about you and more about your story. And so that's where I jumped in and asked, "Hey, can I come on your show and interview you so that your guests can hear what they want to know?" And so, yeah, here we are.
Yeah. And
Thank
then
you
when we
for
met, I fell in love with you and we became Midwestern besties.
we did, except for you're way cuter. You have way more swag and style, and I'm definitely more of a from the farm kind of gal, but
This is all Ross. This is
no
all from
way.
Ross Dress for Less.
Let's go. Okay, we're more alike than I thought. So, yeah, I fell in love with you too, and I immediately resonated with the kind of woo-woo. I shared some things on our private conversation that I really haven't shared publicly just because I felt
Yeah.
comfortable with that. And
Yes.
that's what you do. I mean, you give this comfort to it's not as separate as we may think, like the spiritual and the physical. So my first question, just to kind of start us off, is what is your journey to making a baby and how you kind of came to this work?
Oh man, I'll give you the Cliff Notes version. So I grew up the good girl. So you spend most of your life trying not to get pregnant.
I see what you
Right.
mean. Yep.
And I will back it up before my fertility journey. I've had some womb trauma, and in my 20s, I had an abortion, and that really shaped a lot of life decisions after that. And that really scarred me. And it was a decision that unfortunately just had so many effects on me. And I said to myself, and I promised, like, when I am ready, I'm going to do everything. When I say everything, unstoppable energy to be the most deserving mom, to do everything possible for that baby when I am ready. Fast forward to I moved to Nebraska from Miami. 7 months after moving here, I meet my husband, the love of my life. We date, we get married, which is we get engaged and married the same year my dad passes, which is significant because when my dad passed, that was the start of my spiritual awakening. I didn't really understand at the time that was what was happening. I was just going through this soul upheaval of like, the person that's never abused me and my family is now gone. And I don't know what's real or not real. And the grief really shattered my sense of reality in every way possible. My grief was very physical. I had gotten my IUD out right before we got married, and I was not getting pregnant. Everything was fine. Everything tested normal. I literally had no knowledge of my cycle or tracking. Like literally, I just literally thought if you could get pregnant anytime you had sex.
Yeah.
Literally, that's what I thought. And most of the women, when I first started this podcast, when I tell them that, like that are, not until you have like dived deep into your cycle and the 4 phases of your cycle and tracking and your body temperature, like when you get really technical about it, there's either that spectrum that you really know everything or you really know nothing.
Yeah.
I was in the camp of being indoctrinated from my conservative Christian foundation of like, a guy looks at you, you have
Right.
sex, you're gonna get
Right.
pregnant. And I had evidence of that already. So like, I was just like, why is it not happening? I finally arrived to the place where I did everything right and I had done everything to redeem myself, graduated college, got the big girl job, and
Got married.
got married to a really good human. Like
Yeah.
this was not a fuckboy. This was not a bad boyfriend I had dated. This was a good human, like a good human that my dad liked before he even passed. It's like, and he was the only guy I had ever brought to my dad. And he's like, yeah. He goes, he said, hold on to that one. Don't mess that up.
No.
And I said, thanks. Get. So like I'm like, why is this not happening? Essentially, what I was told was your grief's physical. And I started grief therapy, and I did that. um, for all of 2015, all the way into 2016. Fast forward, I fall off my horse,
Your literal horse.
literal horse.
It's like sounds every time you say that, which it's only been twice now, but I've initially thought it's a figure of speech. And
No,
you
okay.
literally fell off your horse.
Yeah, so there was a lot of trauma. I guess I'm the from 2014 to 2016. In 2016, I did get pregnant,
Mm.
and that is with my son Ollie now. But 2014, my dad died. 3 days later after my dad died, his father died, so my
Oof.
abuelo. But my abuelo's in another country, 'cause my
Okay.
dad was an immigrant, so I'm first gen. My dad was from a country called Ecuador in South America, so my abuelo died 3 days after my dad died. 1 week, like 1 year into the same week, my horse, my soul mate, my heart horse, her name was Cheyenne, she died
Oh,
that same anniversary week. So it was like, man, 2 Aprils in a row.
tidal waves hitting you. Yeah.
Right, and we're newlyweds, like, I got so 2 people passed in April of 2014, I get engaged in September of 2014, we're married in December of 2014. April rolls around of 2015, still not pregnant, but my heart, my Appaloosa, she's like was my dream, my little pony, she dies,
Oof.
unfortunately. So then I have 1 horse left because I had 2 horses at that time. I'm still riding and I'm still coping and, still not pregnant. Fast forward to 2016, I'm riding with another gal at the barn on a gravel road because that's what you do in Nebraska. There's gravel roads everywhere. And we were going to a heated arena at another, at another farm. Uh, there was a gunshot. It
Mm.
was hunting season and my horse went right. I went left and I fell in a ditch. I was wearing my helmet and I had a really gnarly concussion. I was put on medical leave. I couldn't drive, couldn't be on my phone. I got dizzy a lot of the time, constant headache. I had trouble with my memory. I had problems with depth of perception,
Mhm.
vision. Like I would miss getting into the car. My
Oh.
foot would miss the curb. So it was during this time that my therapist and a psychic this same week said, you should try Reiki. I got Reiki from the person that my grief therapist recommended because I was taking classes with the psychic on like what spirits guides are and things like that, but not like I wasn't fully like woo woo yet. And so it's like still like really medical. And so I went to the lady I trusted the therapist more. And so I went to her. And then the next month we were testing, like literally we were testing positive in April 6th is when my dad died. So on that anniversary, we told my in-laws, that we were pregnant to honor my dad.
Aw.
And so we struggled, but like when it was I didn't think it was when like I thought because I was the good girl
Mhm.
that when I was ready to have a baby, it would just be easy, but
Mm.
it wasn't. When I got the Reiki session, what it did was like it almost like it literally unlocked my womb. It like restored my safety
Wow.
100%. Like it was
And so are you saying you had 1 session?
1 session
Wow.
and it was unlike anything I've ever experienced before. It was
Yeah, did you have, like, physical sensations in the session?
yes, because
Okay.
she did massage and Reiki, and the way that the therapist described it actually is really non-spiritual, but makes total sense.
Mm.
She's like, "You've had so much trauma in your life, childhood trauma, I was molested, I had the
Mhm.
abortion, I everything I felt had been robbed. I had been
Mhm.
robbed. Everything had been taken away from me."
Mhm.
That was very much the narrative that was playing in my head. So it's like she goes, "You need to be given something,
Mm.
and just everything's been taken from you." And, what this lady did was she was a Reiki master and a massage therapist, and she goes, "You need to get the trauma removed from your tissues, and this is the best way to do that."
Wow.
So and nobody talks about that, like, you can go so name the trauma, car accident, breakup, heartbreak, divorce, loss of any kind, but nobody talks about the physicality of your emotions, and it does get stuck in your physical body if you don't have techniques to move that energy and emotion out of your physical body, and
Mm.
that's essentially what happened. My grief settled in my womb, it settled in my body, and it was home.
Yeah.
because I did not feel safe. So no matter what I was doing, my womb was like a clenched fist. It's like, "Nope, not
Mhm.
welcome here."
Well, and I mean, it makes sense. Even like our animals, which this is so maybe dumbing it down, but quote unquote dumbing it down, but like our
Yeah.
animals don't get pregnant in winter,
I didn't know I didn't think about
Like our
that.
farm
That's true.
animals, yeah, like and part of that is like the chickens are focused solely on keeping themselves warm. They don't have
Mm,
capacity to think about sitting on the eggs, or they just know
I
intuitively
didn't
this
know
is
that.
not a safe environment. And our cats, which it's a whole nother barn cats, they don't get pregnant in the winter.
Shut up, I did not know that.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's just because we live in the Midwest and it's just intuitive, but yeah, it's crazy.
God, I
And
love a
then
good barn cat.
springtime, baby animals will start to come everywhere, and
That makes sense.
yeah, yeah, it's really wild.
I did not know that.
Yeah. So, I mean, it makes total sense to me. When you were talking about the trauma that you experienced, and first of all, just thank you for sharing that so
Yeah,
freely
I
because I
find it
know
yeah.
people resonate, and even if they're not in a place where they would speak it, when they hear you say it, they're like, "Oh, dang, same, okay." But, you said about your dad, the one person that was a safe place. But would you say that also him dying in a sense felt like abandonment as well?
Oh, yeah. So, at that point in my life, I associated safety with not physically harming me.
Mhm.
But my dad was a very difficult person to love, and
Mm.
later years, probably year 4 after he died and I was working with a hypnotherapist, she goes, "Your dad was a narcissist." I was like, "No way!"
The idea of being abandoned by a death.
Yes, no, like, there was a pattern my entire life of abandonment from him, like, parents
Mm.
got divorced when I was 11 months old. He didn't really I was their marriage essentially got separated when she chose not to have an abortion with me. That was the story told on both
Wow.
sides correctly.
Wow.
It's like, "I don't want a 3rd child. This was not the plan. You trapped me." And she's
So
like,
just to be clear, they said that to you or in your presence?
"Yeah."
Damn.
Oh, that was the story since I could remember.
I'm so
It was like, "Been
sorry.
here."
That's
Thank
like a
you. No one's
really
ever said that to me.
not kind thing to say.
No, it's very like, so he did not want like, didn't pay child support,
Yeah.
was very, like, not involved until age 15.
Mm.
I did spend 1 summer
Yeah.
when I was 10 with him,
Yeah.
but that was it, and
But yeah,
he
that
and that
kinda does feel like the bare minimum. Bare, not even bare. Yeah.
barely there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, when he abandoned again, which was like, you died, which
Mhm.
is not controllable. He had
Yeah.
colon cancer. I was like, "This is so wild to me that death is bizarre."
Yeah.
I think grief is hard. But for me was like desperate. I was desperation was just I how can I talk to you? And that's what drove a lot of my
Yeah.
curiosity spiritually to become a medium. So I became a medium before I became a healer. And then through all of my healing certifications, I became a better medium. But
Mm.
that was my first interest was how do I communicate with you more? How do I get
Right.
better at this? So like I took every class that this local medium had. I was
Mm.
all I did during my pregnancy even and then then I started binging YouTube and learning about aliens. So like his death was the launching pad for
Yeah.
who I am authentically now.
Right. Well, and do you think, like, when you said that your dad wasn't a, great dad or a great human, do you believe now that you have all of this insight into the spiritual realm and, like, I've heard it said, like, the veil, between life and death. Do you feel like you have a more connection with the authentic him as well?
No.
Okay. And if you don't wanna go
I
there,
feel
that's
like
fine too.
I have a better lens
Mhm.
into seeing things for what they were. I don't feel very connected to him now, and I've let him go. I held on way more than I feel like his soul wanted me to. I
That's a
feel
hard
that
pill to swallow, I'm sure.
I've had time with it, and
Yeah.
I've done a lot of work with it. I've worked with shamans. I mean, when I worked with the hypnotist or hypnotherapist, it was life-changing. Like,
Yeah.
I got to do a lot of work where I would go into hypnosis and talk to him
Mm.
or his higher self and what would I have liked to have said in different situations to I've done EMDR
Yep.
with it around his death, around like even after he died, there was a lot of things that happened. My siblings sued the state. I was the executor. It was like a lot of things that
Wow.
happened. So a lot of, like, your mess continued to haunt me even after you died, and I was the
Mm,
only one that showed up for you after he had tormented everyone. So, I feel like I have accepted him for
mhm.
what he was and what he was capable of doing and what he was not capable of delivering in this lifetime, and what was the great karmic lessons that needed to be learned from every side, every angle from that home, like, so that it ends.
Like, it
Because
doesn't continue with your family and your lineage.
yes, hard no. Like, it's a hard I never want I mean, you do your best as you can as a parent, but I never ever want my kid to feel a panic
Mhm.
of when I enter the room,
Yeah, and I bet they
or, like,
don't.
what like, they're fearful of my presence because of the words that are gonna come out of my mouth,
Right.
or there's certainly not any physical abuse in our home,
Yep.
like, nobody's touching you.
Yep.
Mama bear will come out. Like,
Oh,
I'm
absolutely.
so overprotective. Like, we have really hard conversations of like, "Hey, when we go into the store, I need to be able to trust that you're gonna listen to me because, people could steal you. You're an adorable little boy." Um, I was like, "Someone will snatch you, cut you up, and put you in a
Oh
Rubbermaid box,
my
and I will
god,
never see you
Carolina.
again."
God. He's 9?
I
He's
literally
8?
I am on, like, hyper like, literally, these are conversations, like, "Alright, let's set expectations before we go in
Yeah.
the store.
Yeah. My gosh. Oh,
You don't have to hold my hand.
yeah.
We're in the parking lot, you hold my hand, but when you go inside, this is what do you need? Where do you wanna look for? We'll go in that order, but I also need to look for these things." Setting expectations of, like, good communication. Clear communication is kind. Thing that provides safety.
Mm,
Safety is, like, everything to me in my work, in my home.
mhm.
Because it's my nervous system didn't know safety most of my life.
Yeah.
My husband gave me a different kind of safety. He made me feel safe enough to be my authentic self, to explore these. I mean, I was doing Reiki before it was popular.
Mhm.
Like, I was in corporate pharmaceutical manufacturing, and I was like, "I'm getting Reiki certified this weekend." And they're
Secret.
like, "You're fucking crazy." I was like, "I can see your chakras.
Yeah, that
I
I mean,
can't."
that is kind of exactly what I have on my questions list to ask you next, like, Reiki. Talk to me like I'm 5.
Okay.
What is Reiki in the sense that, like, let's say someone's listening to this and they wanna be
Mhm.
pregnant. They're like, "Okay, maybe I do have a father wound." That makes sense in one way or the other. Talk to me like I'm 5. What could Reiki do for them?
Okay, so Reiki is I'm gonna start with what the energy is that's inside your body that is special that makes Reiki work. There is a life force energy that runs through your body. For example, the grass that grows, these are real, but like what them grow, what makes your lungs expand, that's called life force energy. It's not arguable. It exists because that is what makes you alive versus not. Reiki takes a life force energy and from the practitioner or Reiki master to the client, whether it's done in person, hands on, or distance via Zoom or a phone call, which are equally as powerful as in person, there is a transference from the practitioner to the client with consent. And so if you do not consent, they ethically cannot send you Reiki.
Mm,
And what this does is the Reiki, the life force energy, is sourced from God, Mother Earth, is not sourced from the practitioner. They are a funnel, they are a channel. And basically what happens is you have 7 areas of your body. They're called chakras or energy centers. And in that, you want them to be open and flowing. Reiki balances all of those areas of your body. Those areas, if you have a pain in your foot, or if, for example, if you have a lack of a period, or really prolonged periods or painful menstrual cycles, or PMDD, and your luteal phase is like, I'm going for the throat, like if it's really bad, all of those are signs that there is an imbalance within that energy center that needs to be balanced, meaning there is a blockage, something needs to be released. And when you are physically feeling pain, there's an emotional manifestation. There's a blockage of energy, which is emotion
mhm.
in that area that needs to be addressed.
Now, what
And
about
every
something like, you just said emotion, which I'm like totally makes sense. Lots of
Right.
times there are emotions that are, I believe, causing my physical pain. What about when there's a physical pain and it is a clear, like point A is you fell off your horse, you fell in the ditch, got a concussion, there's pain there. Where's the
Mhm.
emotional connection there? Or is there one when it's an injury induced or a chemical induced issue?
I would also look to see in that area what is one, is there something that should like, was there a balance before that happened? Like,
Okay.
what was happening before that? Also, then sometimes there is just a physical thing that
Mhm.
happens, like a car crash, like
Yeah.
you can't, or someone bumps into you and you fall down. What you can do is just send Reiki to help heal that.
Mhm.
Most of the time, though, that if it's just internal and it's not externally induced, I would say that. So if you have fibroids or hormonal issues, like if you don't have enough estrogen or low AMH, we're going to want to send Reiki and focus on that area. In Reiki, every practitioner is a little bit different, but there are standards in which you should practice Reiki with. And when energy is sent to that area, it's also increased blood flow because most of the time we don't have enough blood flow if we're having a resistance or that area is like a clenched
Mm,
fist.
mhm. 'Cause it's
So
just
when we're talking
denying it, cutting it off.
right, and we want to sweep, so you could do like a sweeping away of that energy, or there can be removal. It could be like a psychic extraction of like there could be energy hanging around the ovaries or behind the uterus. So a lot of people might feel like lower back pain.
Mhm.
That's usually like a fear. So we want to
Mm.
we can remove that, sweep that out, and that physically can allow you to feel lighter and better.
That makes sense. What about miscarriage? I mean, I've shared with you, I've had a history of miscarriage, and I mean, like, as you're saying this, I'm like, check, I've that, I've that, I've that. Obviously, like being infertile, it doesn't seem on my side that it's very different than having a miscarriage in terms of energy. Would you say that there's like, if
Yeah,
when I say you are infertile, actually, I don't like that. When you're experiencing infertility, I don't want to put an identity to it, but
right.
like, what have you noticed about the 2 being different or from the same issues? Like, are they connected?
So when a person okay, there's 3 things there.
Okay.
So I never like to use the words like you're infertile.
Mhm.
1, I can't diagnose you.
Mhm.
2 is like I feel like you are fertile, you are infertile could also be like a state of mind. For me is when we talk about miscarriage, there's a few things that we need to address. So from a Reiki standpoint and then a spiritual standpoint. From a Reiki standpoint, we want to send life force energy and we want to restore peace and harmony to that area of the body after it's gone through a traumatic event. Whether it's in process or right after. Some people do have DNCs
Mhm.
or they pass at home or whatever. Sometimes it just there's so many scenarios in loss. So in that is one is just allowing the person to be when they are in a Reiki session after miscarriage or during, letting them to exist and be held is one thing.
Mm.
So we're not trying to do or fix anything while it's happening. Post miscarriage, we would want to do in a Reiki session is again hold space for them. It's the most important thing because a lot of people are going to glaze over this, over the loss, over the grief, and expect you to get back to normal speedily, like quickly. And that is a whole nother topic about our
Yeah.
culture of handling grief and loss. But also there is you're technically postpartum. There is you so there is a lot of things that are going on. Your body needs to be restored. So what I recommend is 3 at least 3 Reiki sessions spaced how the client needs it to restore the womb. In there is we're destabilizing or restoring, we're putting life force energy because a lot has been taken out.
Yeah.
Then after that is okay, from there is like, do we need to clear anything? So like the first session, I wouldn't remove any energy. I would just, what are we doing to stabilize and restore so that they can be at a normal level? Because there's different levels of life force energy, just like of your mood. Like I am 10 today,
Yeah.
tomorrow I'll be a 2. So like you want your chakras to be open and spinning and connected, and that's optimal health. So from a person who has a loss or grieving like I was, my chakra was so deficient and I was in so much like it was basically locked. It was like dead. So I would need just to receive
Mm.
and be held in that first session. And that was enough for me to open. I go do the deed and then I was pregnant.
Yeah.
So with loss, there's, restore and then
Yeah.
clear and then bless. And those
That
would
makes
be the 3
sense.
things. Now, when we're talking about miscarriage, I believe that there are soul contracts so that before we come into this life, not everyone believes that. Do you?
Mhm.
But for me is we travel with the same group of people and there's karmic contracts that we agree to, like who's going to harm you, who you're going to marry, who's going to be your brother, your mother, sister, and the lessons
Yeah.
that we're going to learn before that baby comes, whether it's a miscarriage or stillborn or abortion, it is agreed upon before we come, like what's going to happen. And I believe in those cases, and a lot of my training has also affirmed this, is that their sole purpose was fulfilled inside your womb.
Mhm.
And that provides a lot of comfort to a lot of women who have had losses,
Yeah.
and it sucks the whole way around. Like, there's nothing I could say to any woman that has had a loss
Yeah.
to mitigate but knowing, like, and then sometimes those souls come back.
Mhm.
Yeah, sometimes those
We
souls
and
come
we
back.
talked about that a little bit. I
Yeah,
shared with you, I was like, "I don't share this a ton because it does sound for some people, it can sound crazy, but I'm
right.
telling you in my soul, like, there was a knowing. I went
I
to a
trust that.
session, I went with the idea that I was getting massage, and then also when I got there, I realized this girl is way more in touch than I realized. Like, she was and she had and I saw on her wall, Reiki and
Well, they teach Reiki in massage schools.
okay, so and she
Part
had
of their certification.
okay, I did not know
In
this.
most schools, they're Reiki 1 certified. At
Okay,
least 1, no, Reiki 1 and 2.
okay,
Because so there's different levels of Reiki in mainstream Reiki. Reiki 1 is for self, Reiki 2 is what you need to practice on others.
okay.
So they do teach in most schools, like in Nebraska that I know of, like the 4 schools that I know, they teach Reiki 1 and 2 because a
In
lot of the
massage.
yeah, so a lot of the women that I would do Reiki training with were massage therapists, and they were doing continuing education credits
Cool.
and,
Okay.
like, to do their masters. But when I would talk to them, they're like, "Oh, yeah, I know," but they teach it maybe not to the depth in which Reiki classes were taught, but they were taught and attuned to Reiki 1 and 2 in school.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, and when I got there, she was just so good, and she was like, "Hey, do you mind if I share something? It seems like she called it out." I mean, she was just like, "Have you had a history of miscarriage?" And I said, "Yes." And she said, "Tell me about one in particular." She like nailed it. I mean, nailed it. And then she said, "Okay, you have one son in particular that is extremely empathetic." And I was like, "Yep." Yes, absolutely. She said he's very connected, and I think she even said something, if I remember right, about his moon-shaped eyes, which are, like, so specific to him, and, I just was like, "Okay, yes, tell me more," and then, she said that was the soul contract of the first, and it was like it was not something that I could ever explain how I felt that I was true, but I
I get
knew
it.
in my bones it was true, and I was just like, the feeling, and if I could synopsis it in one little phrase, it would be like, "Nothing is lost. Nothing is lost." And it was the most healing awareness, and, yeah, and then I think of my friends, that are going through loss right now or going through miscarriage
Yeah.
or going through late-term loss, and I'm like, I don't know that that feeling of nothing is lost can ever come from anywhere outside of the divine because, me saying that is, like, almost feels so like, not it's for each
Give
individual
goosebumps
person to
everywhere.
come to that. Yeah. How
I
can I
find that
ever
that's
look
what mediumship is, like, so she has a gift of channeling, whether and channeling is different than being a psychic. So, like,
mm,
that's a medium, and I love that so what she did was called evidential mediumship, where she is giving you fragments or
mhm,
explanations of physical evidence that makes the message even more grounding or,
yep,
like, it's hearing that is, like, it's a physical reaction and that's what I love most about mediumship of like when you are working with an authentic medium, they tend to give you because it's not like a 411 line with the other side. They're going to give you puzzle pieces
yeah.
and fragments. And sometimes and it's like speaking in code. So they'll give you like symbols or it could be a stream of consciousness. But in that case she's like moon-shaped eyes and you're like
Yeah, and I
it's
don't
highly
remember
specific.
and I don't remember I don't wanna say she said that because I don't remember exactly, but it was something there was something in line with, "Okay, there's no question," and I think I needed that. I think I
Yeah.
needed that evidence to be
Yeah.
able to go, "Okay," because of a history
To
of
receive it.
self-trust issues. Yeah.
It makes it safer to receive a message when they ask for consent, like, "Do you want this?"
Mhm.
I don't go up to people in Walmart and be like, "Guess what? Your granny is telling you this." It's consent.
Do you
You
have
don't wanna
moments
blindside
like that
people.
in Walmart where you feel like Granny's telling them this?
But
Yeah.
I'm not doing that. Walmart's fucking crazy anyway.
Y
Like, I'm not gonna be embracing, channeling
Yeah.
when I'm looking for human traffickers.
Yeah.
I'm like, we're looking for Oreos.
Mm,
I'm not channeling in Walmart. You can
yeah.
pay me, they can find me, they can pay me.
Yeah.
I'm not no, that's not my life. Consent to me is so important, so I'm glad she asked for consent, and, when I think also all of that, again, like what you said, is divinely
Mm,
orchestrated or grounded, is, they also know kind of people call that spiritual medicine.
mm,
When spirit knows, God knows, the divine knows, what is she gonna need for her to really receive this wholeheartedly and take as truth?
yeah.
So they'll throw you a bone.
Yeah.
They'll throw the person that's channeling for you, and that doesn't happen with every client.
Mm,
That doesn't it's not a thing. I've gotten better and I know how to, turn it off, but it doesn't always come in when you need it.
mm,
It's a choosing of, what's happening in this moment. So I can channel for certain people really, really well, and then other people, I'm like, "I got nothing for you." I
yeah.
can't have I've refunded sessions.
Yeah. And that, I mean, speaks to you too, because I think probably some people practicing inside of insecurity might just grasp at straws and try to find something just to deliver something. But props to you for standing firm with, what is true.
No, if you're paying me $222 an hour to channel for you, that's a lot of money. But I've been doing this for years and it's thousands of dollars in education, certifications, training,
Right.
studying. But I'm also not going to do you a disservice. If I get on there, I'm like, not
Mm,
today. If but for that rarely happens, but also it's the energy of the person. Are they not ready to receive
mm,
this? I want to just be of service.
yeah. Yeah. When you shared earlier about experiencing an abortion, what are your thoughts on regret specifically? Like, what's your philosophy on regret? Do you have regrets?
With my abortion
I guess I would say with anything,
or
but
just
that was something that, yeah, when you said that, I was curious what your thoughts were.
I think it's really important to talk about these things and know it's very controversial because I know more women that have had abortions in silence than not. More women would have had some of them elective or non-elective. And when you're doing fertility, unfortunately, sometimes things don't go to plan, or if it's a topic or something like that. I think it's important to speak about it. So I'm not super comfortable all the time about it, but I want to speak about it. So I don't regret the decision.
Mhm.
I don't regret not because my life is the way it is right now. And I spent years reminding myself of anniversary date or how old they would be
Mhm.
or guessing what gender they would be. But it is not is when I look now, it is one of those decisions that very much I am super proud to have had transformation from
Yeah.
and allowed myself to not be sure many people punished me for it and told me I'm going straight to hell and all of the things.
You
Thank
probably
you
told
so much
yourself
for
that at some points.
yes, because at that point it was also around the time I was a newly saved Christian.
Yeah.
And I was all of my friends were also good girls, but I was the only one having sex. And everyone was saving for marriage but it was the right decision for me. So I think regret is a hard word. I don't think I regretted. I think I lived with the pain for a
Yeah.
long time until I s- accepted what I had, the amount of suffering I had endured for myself and I made myself go through was enough.
Mm.
Mm.
Yeah.
So, I think that my it is part of my story. It was a very difficult decision. I think that for other people, I think that you have to define why you're choosing to have an abortion and what does this mean for you? For years, I thought I was not worth anything, but that is not the case. I believe from what am I going to do different? What was the situation that I was in? What drove here? What do I want different going forward? And my dream was to get married, it was to have a family, was to have a stable home. And now, okay, so then a person that does that, what do they look like? People that have a stable marriage and loving home, what do they look like? Who are those in my community? Who are those who are in my life? What are they doing that I'm not? What are the values that they have? I mean, I literally made a list and all of them was finish college, be a person that deserving of a stable partner. And
Hmm.
the choices, I was like, are the choices I'm making very self-aware, very self-reflective of like, what is a good mom? What does she look like? What is she doing? Literally went like on this 2, 3 year vengeance of like rebuilding myself, ending an engagement,
Wow.
like just like what can I do differently? And who can I be differently? Because I did believe in second changes. I believe that I could start over. Um and choose different people, choose different friends, choose different circles. I mean,
Yeah. I
Miami
mean,
was a
what you
huge
just walked
city.
through is like, would you say that you felt because and I'm getting to something, just want to make sure I'm clear on if I'm understanding the storyline right, that you felt guilt at one point?
I felt guilt even
Yeah.
still to this day.
Yeah.
I
But
don't think that the guilt goes.
you used that
Yeah,
guilt to realize that you made a choice that was not in your authenticity. And so then you got clear about what that would look like and then worked like hell to become her.
right. It's
I love
not
that. I love
I
that.
don't ever I don't want anyone to get the impression that, like, having an abortion was a light decision
Mhm.
or that it's not still without heaviness
Yeah.
or there's not grief there still.
Yeah.
There's more of acceptance of why I made the decision and a choosing not to punish myself,
Yeah.
and a lot of fondness for the soul of that I missed out on.
Yeah. And anyone
But
who like I mean, of course, this is like one of those topics that's so black and like so taboo and like people have such strong opinions
yeah,
on both sides. And here's what we can all get on the same side about. No matter what whoever's listening to this, like whatever and not that that's even the point of what if that's what you're hearing, you're missing out on the point. The point
right,
is we have all done things that we look back on.
right,
Some of us have the courage like Carolina you do to share those stories and go, "Oh, this was a moment." Some of us have the courage to share that, but we all have things that we look back on and we go, gosh, like I have dealt with and I probably will deal with grief around this thing for the rest of my life. What I
right,
do with that is up to me. And what you have modeled here in this storyline, which I'm like, if I was to mute myself and write without you hearing it, I would. The timeline of grief collective in a little circle on the timeline can literally be the catalyst for a massive transformation. If we're willing to look at that and go, what part of that did not align with me? Now, let me get clear about what alignment would look like. And like you did, I've never thought of it like this. You have just really given me some food for thought on what I'm maybe grieving about and how could I get clear about what authenticity looks like and work towards that.
but I also wanna speak to, like, women also have abortions for other reasons than not being with the right partner or right timing, and some people don't feel guilt, shame, or any of those things, and that's okay too. They
Mhm.
might just feel relief.
Hmm.
Or I've had clients that needed to have a life-saving abortion,
Hmm.
um, and those experiences may not be probably are not gonna mirror the same storyline and emotions that some of them don't feel regret at all because they're just, like, sad the situation happened because it was tragic and it was not the storyline that they wanted. They might be angry, but they might feel guilt that their body didn't work.
Hmm.
Everyone's story with loss or abortion is so different, but honoring those emotions, but understanding, like, this story can change. Like, the story then was, "I am shameful, I am dirty, I am not worthy, I made bad decisions." The story now is, without that abortion, without my dad dying,
Mm.
I would not be the servant and healer that I am now. I wouldn't be the parent
Mhm.
that my child very much needs
Mhm.
without that changing experience,
Mhm.
no matter how difficult that was.
Yeah. And the reality is like as you're saying this, the thoughts we think do give us the experience we have. And
100%.
so, yeah, which one, choose your thought, choose your journey, which one is going to lead you to a better experience? Obviously, the second one, you know?
It took me, I mean, that's 2 decades ago, so, like, you can rewrite the story
Mhm.
that loops in your head about different like, about past situations
Mhm.
of, like, I did what I when I look back and when I think about, like, that version of me, she was depressed,
Mm.
she wasn't guided, she was not supported, she felt immensely unloved to begin with, and she made a very difficult choice, and for me, that is I give her enough grace, I give her enough love, I embrace her, and if she was my daughter,
Mm.
I would like, what would if I had a daughter that was in that situation, what would I do? I would provide her resources, support, I would hold her, I would nurture her, we would take a pause.
Mhm.
There was no one there.
Mm.
And when I think about like, okay, if I had a daughter and no one was there, like what would you say to her that went through that? Like what is
Mhm.
like I have compassion and I don't judge that version of me because again, solo, she did the very best she could and the end stop there,
Yeah.
of like and all the years of suffering. I think that that's so of torment. Forgiveness is powerful as well.
Yeah.
Forgiveness of self and recognizing like, yes, that happened. Best you could do
Yep.
and forgiveness and of like yeah,
I have 2 more questions, and the
sure.
first one is when someone is experiencing womb disharmony, let's just say, because that's like your people, right? They're listening to you because 'cause they're
Yeah,
like, "We want a baby. Let's make a baby." When they're experiencing that, but maybe they don't yet connect the dots. Like, they're not like, "Yeah, I'm aware of my trauma," or "I'm aware of I guess my question is that possible that they could be experiencing womb disharmony? Is that a word? Is disharmony a word? I don't think it is.
I like it though.
Dysregulation. Yeah. If they're experiencing that, is it possible that they're not aware of their trauma?
100%, most of the time they're not. So, women come to me because they've tried everything else or they can't afford fertility treatments, and they're like, "Why not? The tea didn't work, the supplements are not working,
Yeah.
the Vicks Vapor Rub or the what is the one
Is
that they
Vicks
take?"
Vapor Rub some people use Vicks Vapor Rub?
No, I think I was trying to get to the Mucinex.
Oh,
People
okay.
use Mucinex.
To get
I
pregnant?
am Hispanic, Vicks Vapor they call it Vaporub,
Okay.
like, from the Cuban culture. I grew up in a Cuban like, in Miami, it's a Cuban neighborhood, so they
Uh-huh.
put Vicks on everything. Anyway, so that
I
was
mean,
not applicable.
Vicks, don't sleep on Vicks. Like, Vicks has it going on. They're, like, probably over 100 years old at this point.
Yeah, I had a nail
Anyway,
fungus and it fixed it. It's gone
that's
now.
awesome.
Thanks for Vicks. No, Mucinex, teas, they've done
Yeah.
acupuncture, they've done failed IVF. So usually people come to me when they're curious.
Mhm.
And then once they come into my world, like either in a free circle or I do a TikTok live, I'm like, okay, so if I read them, I'm like, okay, this is what I'm channeling, or if I pull cards, and then I just go straight for the jugular. I'm like, tell me about your relationship with your dad when you were 6 or
Mm.
when you were 11. What happened? Is your dad passed? Because
Mhm.
I'm feeling his higher self. And they're like, oh. So like so a lot of the time I'm the bridge or the educator in like, hey, this is what's blocking your womb, or hey, because you haven't conceived, have you considered the emotional side of this? All right, or if they don't have a period at all and they've never been pregnant, all right, let's talk about the first time that you felt unsafe that you can remember. Let's
Mhm.
unlock so usually I'm the education point of like, there is a connection between your physicality
Uh-huh.
and your emotions in your ability to conceive. And then they hear my story is like, my emotions shut down. I was grieving. I got one Reiki session. I restored my mind, body, spirit. And that was enough to make me feel safe. And then I conceived.
Yep.
In order to conceive, you have to receive. And in order to receive, you need to feel safe. So if you're trying to conceive, my hack is what can you do today to feel safe? What does that look like for you? Is that being held right now? Is that a hug? Do we need to stop talking to a certain person? Have you eaten today? Like, have you taken
Carolina,
water?
you're reading my
Yeah.
mail.
Like,
Oh my
some
gosh.
people, safety looks so different. For
Yeah.
me, safety is like knowing no one like I have not so it looks different every single day, but safety for me
Yeah.
is 100% knowing like, all right, I am responsible for my day. I am luckily enough and very like focused this year. I'm all in on my business. I'm not working for anyone else. I'm grounded. Like no one's expecting anything of me. I have what is my to-do list, what is reasonable, what can be done tomorrow, and then just honing in. I
Yeah.
feel safe because I'm in a great relationship and I've tended to it. I feel safe within myself because I'm listening to my body. And a lot of women skip that part. Very simple things that you can do to feel safe is go pee when you need to,
Right.
go drink water when you need to, eat when you are hungry, and start prioritizing yourself in the micro ways. And
Yeah.
the self-abandonment, which was my normal, will start to restore your safety. So choosing you, stop saying no to things, start saying no to the things that you don't want to do or don't serve you. Start looking at the relationships where there's no reciprocity. That is a really important word I think a lot of women don't use, and that's like the give and take. There's already reciprocity, such a hard word to say too.
It is a word.
There's already
Yeah.
reciprocity in our relationship.
Mhm.
Like there was this understanding. Yesterday I was supposed to be on your pod. My little was not well.
Yeah.
It was a whole thing, but like you received me and then like
Absolutely. Yeah.
a give and take, right? So I think it's
Compassion,
really
grace.
important.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're not feeling safe in your relationships or in your
Mm.
marriage or in your partnership, insert whatever your status is, how are you going to receive a soul of your baby if your womb doesn't feel safe in your relationship or within your relationship with yourself? So we have to start number one. Where are you feeling unsafe in your life and how can we restore
Oh my
safety?
god, that is
What
so
changes?
good. I'm like,
And
I'm
it's
sitting here
simple.
thinking like of all the ways that and you know what's funny? You said microwaves, which I really appreciate because I think of the big things, right? Like safe in my relationship with my husband. Absolutely. 10 out of 10. Safe in my home. It's warm. Yes. But there are little ways that I'm not safe with myself. And I'm just like,
Mhm.
I'm just picking up on this. And yeah, and it's little things that can kind of build into it can kind of manifest into bigger things. For example, which this is kind of a silly example, but I think you're going to understand. This morning, I started my period. I'm feeling pretty off right now. Like my whole tummy hurts, and I
Yeah,
wanted to take a bath. That's like one thing that I can do for myself. Well, we're
you
out of
should.
propane. And my husband had hooked up like the rest of the propane from the grill. And so when I turned on the bath water this morning, it was so cold. And I realized it just wasn't in the cards for me this morning. And like, no big deal, right? I can pivot, not take a bath. It's all good. But like, I didn't get to create that safety for my body this morning, which has kind of
Mhm.
ripple affected into other areas. Have I eaten breakfast? No. Have I drank enough water? No. You're reading all these things.
I
I'm like,
haven't eaten either,
shoot.
but I did have coffee.
Yeah, no, I did not miss my coffee. Don't you worry about that. Coffee's in. But it's in that same way, that's not really being safe with myself because I know how I feel when I drink coffee and I don't backfill it with protein. Not fair to me, right?
Right.
So that makes sense. Carolina, you got some good stuff over there. You
Oh
know
my
what you're
gosh, thanks.
doing. You know what you're doing.
I try.
So for
And
someone who oh, go ahead.
no, it's just from lived experience and patterns. Also, just like it's the most basic thing. Every human deserves to feel safe.
That is the bottom layer of Maslow's hierarchy. Safety. Wow. Yeah. When someone listens to your podcast, which I've not gotten to binge your podcast yet, but I have listened to snippets.
We're relaunching it. So, like, you're the first episode that's going to air.
Let's go. That's awesome. When they listen and they're like, okay, this is good. I'm ready to get started with you, but I don't know where to start. Where can they go to just take that first step of like getting you in their life?
We have a free community that I launched a few months ago on School. I love the School platform. And it's free. Come and join, and I go live in there often, almost weekly. There's free resources, so I have freebies in there. There are Reiki recordings. The past live calls are in there. There are also ways to work with me, low cost, and then all the way up to one-on-one work together, um, and group work. So that is like the one place you can get every like freebie I've ever done and free resources. You can binge the YouTube or TikTok for free resources as well. If you want to get a vibe for me, you can also just slide in my DMs. I
Mhm.
am always open to have do voice notes and to answer any questions. I think it's really important when you're choosing a healer to ask really important questions. I'm kind of controversial. Like, I think that you should know what kind of work they're doing on themselves. Like, you should be able to ask about their education or their stances on things. I think that also, like, what kind of value system that they have. Like, and a lot of people will not ask that. I think it's important. I won't work with a healer that has not done anti-racist work
Mm,
or that doesn't identify with, "Oh, I just did a certification once and I'm fine." No, you need to continue to always do identity work, always do shadow work. A healer can only hold enough space and guide you as far as they've gone deep.
mm.
I think that's really important to ask whether their practices. So ask a lot of questions and I'm always welcoming it.
Amazing. So then if they wanna join school and they wanna get in your community, I'm
Just go to
guessing the
link
link in the
in the
show notes?
Yep.
Perfect.
Well, it's linked.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Love that.
it's always linked.
Well, thank you for giving me the opportunity to just ask you all of these questions. And I know I have definitely taken away many, many bits, specifically like the idea of transformation out of grief and also now safety, personal safety, and letting that be my job to create that for myself and taking
Yeah.
that seriously. So I really appreciate that.
Thank you for coming on the show, and I actually think there's a term for when a person comes on your show and they interview you. It's called a reverse Uno.
What? I did not know this.
I remembered I had a podcast coach when I was first learning podcasting, and he told me that term, and then I remembered it during this conversation. It's called a
That's
reverse Uno.
awesome.
Well, that's what he told me and he was like he's a kind of a big deal. So I assume
Okay.
that's correct.
That's very great.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, look at me doing a reverse Uno. The thing is,
Thank you for
reverse
doing this because
Uno.
when I saw your post, I
Oh,
was
yeah.
like, that would be so fun.
Yeah.
So thank you for being here. Thank you for
Oh,
blessing our listeners.
absolutely. Absolutely. My pleasure.
So everyone, thank you so much for listening. I know this is a longer episode. I would love to invite you to join the Make a Baby community. It is free. It's on school, and we're asking any questions, pulling cards, connecting to your spirit babies, doing a little meditation every week to connect and so that you are not alone in this fertility journey. I would love to walk with you and support you. And until next time, my friends, let the Reiki flow.